Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So before we get to drawing today, I wanted to show you something real quick. I bought some new photo paper at the beginning of July to test out for like future prints, but I found a different kind of thing I want to use this paper for. So in my notebook, I actually kind of planned out a template of the actual sizes for Polaroid photos. So usually in my notebook, because I'm a visual learner or like a person who likes to keep notes and stuff of things more physically, I like to map out sizes for like sticker sheets or even like paper sizes. So let's go ahead and go into Procreate to set up a very similar, I guess, like dimensions to the template that I had in my notebook. So I'm setting it to 5.3 to 8.6, which I think is about the right size for what I need it for. I'm gonna go ahead and make another new canvas so that we can plan out the kind of image space that we need for our actual photo to be in. So the current canvas that has like the white that I first made with the like 5x8 is going to be the template of the outside of our Polaroid photo, and then the inside will be this black square that I'm kind of trying to figure out the proper size for. So I did look up the sizes online, so you can probably find them on there as well. If not, I'll try to make sure to leave the dimensions in the description if you're interested in following a very similar format. Now, trying to keep this very even, I decided to pull out the grid function in Procreate so we can kind of make sure that my left and my right are fairly similar in size. Then I'm going to go ahead and change this kind of black box to be a different color, most likely like a gray or a white. And then we are going to clip all of our drawing layers to this particular kind of box so that we can kind of keep our drawing contained within this border. So while I'm sketching, I'm gonna explain why I even had this idea. So initially, as I'm like perusing online stores and shops for potential like paper types for prints, I usually used in the past at least, I mostly used like luster paper or some kind of like gloss photo paper for prints. But after like asking a few of my friends and seeing what's available, I found that I actually prefer something a little less reflective. So I ended up switching to a matte photo paper. Now, unfortunately, the matte photo paper that I like to use is currently sold out, and it's a bit on the lighter side in terms of like the paper weight. So I wanted to see if I could find something a little bit more heftier and something of like higher quality, just because I hate the idea of like feeling like your print's going to break or bend or get dented while you're in transit or like, you know, traveling or perusing Artist Alley and stuff, or even just like in the mail. But as I was kind of like searching up these papers and stuff, I found this particular one that I showed you at the very beginning, and it is 300 GSM, which is a nice kind of sturdier weight, and oftentimes used for like even like watercolor paper tends to be a little bit more on that kind of thicker side, which I kind of liked. And because I'm familiar kind of with the 300 GSM paperweight, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to use it for the Polaroids instead. So in terms of who I'm drawing Petra Gurin from Nijisanji En, and I will be drawing Reimu Endo as well, as their new song What's Waiting for Us has just been released, and I've been playing this song like on repeat for ever since it's been released, because I love this type of song where it's kind of like slow, it kind of hits you in the feels a little bit, and I love their voices together. So I wanted to draw a little bit of fan art, but kind of like stay on theme. You'll see in the end why I ended up doing this kind of format for it, because I had a very kind of specific goal that I wanted to use these Polaroids for technically. But at the beginning of July, when I was like looking up the weight, and it did say that this would be high gloss, and it is double-sided, the gloss, at least on this photo paper. And even though it's not really necessary for the Polaroids to be double-sided with gloss, I definitely noticed that one side has a very smooth sheen to it, which I feel like is more akin to usual glossy photo paper. But the other side kind of has like almost a ripply kind of texture in the light. Like physically, I can't really feel it, but in the light, I can definitely see it. So I will definitely stick with the glossy, smoother finish when doing these like prints and stuff. I'm still debating if I will be using it for future prints. I do like the weight of it, but I'm not super fond of glossy prints just because it's too reflective. So I definitely prefer matte, especially for like the color quality. I just think it looks just a lot better. So I'm going to be currently coloring Petra for now. And I kind of wanted to do the outfits from the music video because the illustrations are absolutely beautiful and I love the color palettes and just how airy and soft everything looks. So I'm gonna basically treat everything else very similar to how I usually work. But once we get to more of the effects and stuff, I'm gonna try my best to give it more of that like Polaroid-esque kind of feeling. I don't think I nail it, but I will try my best for the future to kind of finesse it to make it look a little bit more Polaroid-ish looking, or we'll see, because maybe I do like the higher quality of just not making it look a little bit too like overblown exposure wise. But when I was getting the paper, because I got super sidetracked, I was planning on doing like a bunch of different Polaroid cards for other fandoms and stuff, so including like Genshin obviously, Honkai, Star Rail, maybe. Okay, so I'm Canadian, so I don't know if I would say ZZZ or is it ZZZ. Basically, the new Hoyoverse game. I want to do Tears of Famous and like a bunch of other fandoms as well, like Haikyuu, maybe Dungeon Meshi. I think those would be like super cute, different kind of prints that you could get. Because even though I like these smaller photo card sizes that I'm currently working with, I don't know if I'll sell them at this size because it feels a little bit too tiny and too small. We'll see. But I definitely want to sell kind of more of the larger Polaroids because they're a little bit easier for you to see and I feel like it's more worth it because more of the art is visible. So I kind of wanted to do a bunch of Haikyuu ones today, but this literally has brain rotted me so badly because I can't think about anything else but this song. It's just so pretty, so beautiful. I love the lyrics and I don't know. I just really love these types of songs. So I highly recommend listening to their duet. I'll leave it in the description if you want to listen to it. It's definitely more of my type of song that I like to listen to. So it's been on repeat for the last few days, if anything, or last 2 days. So in terms of like the process of making these, I did end up keeping the canvas size quite small. So initially when I made the canvas, you would have saw that I put directly into like the dimensions to be exactly the same as what it is listed. But I didn't really think I would need to resize anything to be a lot larger. So initially, like when I work on pieces, I tend to work a little bit bigger and then size down if I need to make like something fit a smaller piece of media. But for these ones, because I kind of prefer them to be quicker if they're smaller. I don't want to end up putting too much detail that's going to be super hard to see in the final if it's going to be a super small product. And I feel like even if you have some drawings or pictures that you've done that are a little bit more blown up, I don't think they look too bad at a like super small size as long as it doesn't get too pixelated and your printer can handle it. But moving forward, like if I'm gonna do these kind of like Polaroid style, I guess these are considered minis maybe. I definitely like this size, but I will kind of keep my canvas probably this size for any designs moving forward if I'm going to keep with it, just because it allows me to spend a little bit less time on it, like I mentioned, and I don't want details to be lost. But in terms of the effects, so I ended up duplicating Petra's layer alongside with the background. I see a lot of Polaroids tend to be very blown out, usually kind of like higher contrasted as well, but I didn't want to go too crazy with it. I ended up adding an extra kind of overlay layer as well to add a kind of like a darker purpley-ish color to it and some warmer areas to give it that difference in color discrepancy, if that makes sense. I definitely think that I'm going to play around with the level of contrast if I want to make it more Polaroid-esque, if anything. It kind of has that, not a crispy quality, but I've seen some other people also add noise to it. So if you zoom in a little bit closer to these images, you'll probably see a little bit of noise. I've also kind of lowered the opacity of my duplicated layer so it's not too intense. And for the most part, I think on Petra and Remu's photos, let me see really quickly. I have them in my hands right now. And I feel like the noise actually doesn't pick up too much. It picks up a little bit more on the other images that I ended up doing, and it might have been because of how I overlaid everything and the intensity that I let the layers kind of come through. Because I did lower the duplicated layer that has all my effects to about 50%, so it won't be super intense because I was not super confident in terms of how these would have came out. But I think they're just a very cute size to have your own artwork kind of at, if that makes sense, rather than having things at like poster size or even like A5 or A4 size. These ones are just super cute. I definitely think like hanging these up or keeping them in your sketchbook or a notebook or a journal could be very cute as well. So I am working on Remu at the moment, so the kind of like drawing aspect is probably going to go by fairly quickly for the most part because it is going to be typical process that I usually like to do. So we do a sketch, we'll add our rough colors, I will alter the sketch colors to be a little bit closer to our rough colors, then I'll merge those layers, then we can get into actual rendering, which I kept very simple because I knew that these ones won't have like a lot of detail at a smaller size. I didn't feel the need to render them to a super high degree of finish, which I think turned out pretty okay. So yeah, I definitely think these will be a little bit more like low key. I think it'll be cute. Oh, that's the thing. So another reason why I wanted to do Polaroids actually, because these formats are so small and so cute, I was thinking of gifting them to a few online friends and stuff or mutuals. So I might see if I can make a few care packages for some people because I don't know if it's like a little bit of the FOMO, but seeing people do Art Fight, I know like for the most part, Art Fight's like a 1 month event, or at least I believe it is, from like July 1st to August 1st. And because I'm still kind of in convention crunch time, I'm not joining this year. I plan to next year, hopefully, because I just love the idea of just bombarding people with fan art of their own characters. I think it's just a fun concept, and it's just like such a wholesome way of like being able to draw other people's OCs for them. So I want to do that, but I'm thinking of just doing my own gifting of fan art, not fan art, I guess it's fan art of other people's OCs to them. So I'm going to do a little bit of planning. Some people you might be familiar with because I've drawn fan art for them in the past, and then some other ones are just like my very close online friends that I've been talking to for a few years that are also carrots. So I'll definitely probably plan something for them. I don't know, I just find it fun to draw other people's OCs for them if I can, especially like if you know them a little bit more closely, because I feel like the reaction that I get from them is always just very fun. Even though like they probably hate the fact that I always draw their OCs for them so often. It's okay. I just find it fun, so maybe I'll do that for the rest of the summer after convention prepping is all finished. So while I'm working on Remus, I was definitely still deliberating between how I wanted to do the effects. So if anyone knows a better way of doing kind of a Polaroid effect or old photo kind of effect onto your drawings or images, do let me know, because I want to experiment a little bit before I make some other ones, because I'm still trying to think whether or not I want to treat them as like fully more like Polaroid aesthetic, or do I want to just treat it like normal fan art print on a kind of Polaroid format, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think that's it for in terms of what I wanted to talk about in terms of like the Polaroid paper and stuff. Oh, if anyone knows a good matte kind of photo paper, do let me know. I've been using mostly Canon brand photo paper just because I have a Canon printer and it's usually more available, like readily available at my local Staples, but I tend to find that they're usually like not super restocked super often, so I'm not too sure if I'm going to be able to find them in time for the next printing session that I have to do. Otherwise, I probably will stick with this paper because it is sturdy, like I said, and I don't think gloss looks bad for prints. It's just not my favorite just because the glare can be quite bad. So for Reimu's, I did not show all the effects and stuff, I believe, because it's a similar process to Petra's as well. So instead, I went ahead and went into my OCs folder and picked up a few different finished pieces of my OCs that I've drawn in the past. So I'm going ahead and just duplicated the format once again, and I'm clipping all of my artwork onto the new rectangles that we have so that they can follow the same format. So for the most part, I am blowing up the image quite a bit by using the color curve, whatever you want to call it, the tonal curve. Then after that, I will go and put some noise onto the entire picture. So I'm starting off with this one of Masaki. I'll make a new layer, set it to overlay, and we can put a bunch of different colors to change the intensity of some of some of the colors a little bit, just because that's what I've observed on some other Polaroids in the past, that some of the darker colors kind of have a purpley tinge to it. Probably just because of the ink and stuff. After that, I will merge my overlay layer with the duplicated layer, change it to about 50-ish, and then I will merge that layer onto our normal image. Then we can kind of go through and do the rest of the other little images that I put that I potentially want to turn into Polaroids. So we do have the one of Masaki. I do have the other one. I think there's two of Kaisen. I'm trying to think what other ones I have. Yeah, I have two of Kaisen. I have the one of Moriko and Kaisen on a bike. I'm also going to include a few other ones. One is going to be specifically for a friend because I ended up adding, I think, up to 9 different photos that I could fit onto my little template, I guess. But every photo that I ended up doing, I tried my best to kind of like change it up and alter it a little bit, but I did chicken out a little bit and not fully commit to the super blown out colors. So yeah, I'm just gonna do a little bit more experimenting to see how I want these to kind of fully look. And another thing is, like, I didn't really want to wash out Moriko's colors too much because I do like her color scheme and just like how she looks, so I don't want it to be too overly dramatically different. But yeah, I still had a lot of fun working on these, so playing around with just trying to change the image format a little bit. But moving along, I am in Clip Studio Paint now. I ended up putting all of my images together like this. They do have a very, very small gap in between to allow me to have some space to cut them, but I ended up adding registration marks of some sort or cropping marks to allow me to know where to cut with my paper guillotine. But the problem is that I forgot to add them everywhere because once I start trimming the paper, it becomes very hard to identify where I'm going to be cutting. So it might be obvious right now just because I do have a kind of tannish gray background that's kind of filling in the gaps, but because it's white being printed on white, I'm not going to be able to see where those little borders of where my Polaroid stops and starts. But you can see that these registration lines will at least give me a little bit of an inkling of where I need to cut. I just wasn't really smart with where I placed them, and a lot of them will be trimmed off anyways. But here's what the print looks like. I am using a photo printer that does like have pigment or dye based ink rather than some other kind of inks that might wash out with water. But I like this printer just because it does print very high quality. It's not the same as like laser printer where it does like dots per inch and you can kind of see it very pixelated. So it kind of resembles a little bit closer to a Polaroid in my opinion too, just because of the ink quality. But for the most part, these turned out actually pretty cute. You can see that this one of Petra is a little bit too long, so I ended up trimming her. And yeah, I think the formatting looks really cute like this. I tried my best to cut the rest of them to match the same size, but like I said, I did lose my registration or crop marks for my printing, so it did make it a little bit more difficult to make them exactly the same size. You can kind of see the difference between all of them. But here is the close-up. So we have Petra at the very front. You can kind of see that sheen. It's kind of very smooth. I don't think I showed the backside, but I highly recommend this paper if you want to do some Polaroid making potentially, or like fake Polaroids, I guess. But I think these turned out super cute. I definitely will do haiku ones or like other fandoms in the future. So do let me know if you want to see that process as well, and I can definitely make that into a video. Otherwise, I will just go ham and just make a bunch of these ones or larger ones like I mentioned. So yeah, but like I said, I actually had a plan for these specific Polaroids, and this is kind of like the whole reason I even did this video. So I ended up wanting to make kind of like a cork board setup like this so I could take a photo with the aesthetic of like old-fashioned kind of Polaroid, kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like a very elaborate way just to get this final result like this. But hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will talk to you guys next time in the next video, probably on Monday. But yeah, bye!